Good morning and welcome to this weekly market update from AGM Markets. Today is the 12th of April 2013. What we'll do today is go through some technical analysis on Euro dollar, cable, dollar Swiss, dollar yen, Aussie dollar and gold. There'll be no trade calls recommendations made in this video. You trade at your own risk. If you could please read our full disclaimer on our website www.agmmarkets.com. For any new followers, we have three moving averages on each of these charts. The red one is a 50 simple moving average. Let's change this to a purple. Actually, I quite like the purple. The purple is a 100 simple moving average, and the gold is a 200 simple moving average. Okay, then this is the euro dollar chart. This is the daily chart. What's been going on this week? It's been quite bullish this week. If you look at the sort of 4 hour. It's just been trending up quite nicely. No sort of key fib plays though. I mean, you could perhaps draw on from lows to highs. We're starting to retrace down, see what happens here around the sort of. I mean, if you look at the 38.2, actually that was actually a previous support. If you look to the left there, so that could be an interesting one there. So that's for the sort of short term. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll go back to the daily chart because there is one key setup that is in play. In my opinion, and that is this one here on the daily. I mean, this is what we spoke about in the last sort of few weeks' videos. Really, it's been due a decent retracement, and we got this retracement. The retracement actually came from. Remember, if we were saying what we were saying was decent in between the sort. Because we normally have the 50%, the 61.8, but I've brought the 38.2 just to show you that other move. So you can see we've got a nice buy off this sort of 50% and 61.8% range. The previous support was over here on the left, actually the 61.8. It didn't quite come down to that. It's interesting actually because normally big obvious fibs like this, they normally react to the pit, but it came a little bit below, and I suppose it just came off sort of pure support really. It was sort of 2760s was the support. We rotated higher. So anyway, let's go back to the fib that we were looking at. Yeah, so from highs to lows, 38.2 is getting held pretty much to the pip, and we'll just zoom in here so you can see it's a bit clearer. If you look to the left of the chart, there's actually previous resistance as well. So that's what's going on at the minute. Of course, it doesn't have to keep on holding. It can always come back up and test this 100-day moving average or the 50% or 61.8. But that's what's currently going on at the minute, and it is looking quite heavy this morning. And what is interesting, I'll flip to the cable chart now, is a similar things going on. We've been saying for ages, last couple of weeks, been due a retracement on the cable. Surprise, surprise, we've got one. But now, surprise, surprise, we're getting held at just shy of the 38.2 here. So similar euro and cable, both pretty much off the 38.2. On this chart, it hasn't quite reached the 38.2, but we're starting to get the sellers coming in. On cable, what has been interesting, I think we spoke about this last week's video. It's currently in a long setup, which has pretty much been done and dusted though. We'll get rid of the 38.2 now. So I personally just prefer looking at the 50 and 61.8. There's no right or wrong though. So you can see we had that lows to the highs around here, came back down off the 50%. There was also previous support from the UK budget. I remember that spike there, and we rotated higher. So now what a lot of fib players do is they then extend their fib from the lows there, and then what we did get is if you draw it to this high here, I'll have the 38.2 back on because you know what's going to happen there. It's about 30.2, and that got bought up, and we've rotated higher. And now there's been no real sort of conviction towards the upside here. It's been quite a slow move. This week's been quite slow, really. No real rips towards the upside or downside. Maybe we may get that today. You never know. I think we do have retail sales out today, actually at 1:30. And now, yeah, it's just starting to top out a bit and look a bit weak. So a fib that could be quite an interesting one is if you just stick it from your highs here and extend into that lows. So if you from the lows to these highs up here, or I mean, a lot of people wouldn't be surprised to using that bounce from that previous 38.2 to those highs there. It's quite a smaller one, so if you looked at the sort of 1 hour chart there, there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion either. I personally prefer to look at the sort of bigger, more obvious ones. And then that can also be seen from the daily chart as well, that one down there from the previous bounce. So yeah, that's what I'm really focused on cable, to be honest with you. I mean, also don't forget we are in a sort of uptrend channel here, right? So how do I got a channel here? So let's just draw it via a trend line. So we have the sort of trend line support there, and we have trend line resistance. You could probably extend that as well. So we are inside a decent channel here. And that top side channel is getting held, so don't be surprised to see it come back down to this channel either. That's why I personally like to wait for sort of a bigger fib. I mean, that little one from there to there is sort of inside the channel. It's not my preferred one, but there's nothing stopping that holding at all. I wouldn't be surprised to see it do, but that's the sort of the bigger perspective, and that's what I'm sort of looking at on cable personally. Dollar Swiss, only thing, well, there's two setups in play actually. On the daily chart, the fib from the highs to the lows here. So let's get rid of 38.2, just so it's a bit clearer to see to the eye. So fib from the high to low of the daily chart, nice simple one. Getting sold off at this sort of 50% and 61.8 range. When I say the range, most people have get in at the 50% and put stops behind 61.8. It's quite a sort of common trading style. So that's getting sold off. So with that bigger fib there, but if you go from a lows to highs here, this recent move. Let's extend this out so we can see it clearer. Yeah, so lows to highs here, we see we're getting bought at the 50%. Surprise, surprise. At 0.9294, and that's really held nicely to the pip. We can see a bit clearer if you want to zoom in here. So it's really just a simple chart. If you zoom on the daily chart, it's the low of the daily chart to the high here. And also we have a lovely 100-day moving average confluence right on this 50% as well. You can see it's reacting nicely. Of course, it's got to get above this this 200-day moving average as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see that try and cap, and then you've got the 50-day moving average up here. But it's looking a very nice technical setup. It's one that I'm personally looking at, and I think this is the real sort of focus on this dollar Swiss chart by a lot of people. Dollar yen, it's just really just been ripping towards the upside. Nothing stopping it. We're just getting just shy of the 100 key level. And the only thing I'm really interested in is what happens if we start to get a retracement. I'll be looking at the fib personally from the low there, that key swing low from the start of April to the high here. Let's say it does top out, because I think that could be an interesting level if we come down towards this 50% level. Or you also have that previous high there, which at the 96.66 is. See what happens there. That's what I'm going to personally be looking at for. Be interested to see what sort of what price happens at those two levels. But that's what I'm really focused on. I think on the dollar yen chart. But it's got to retrace down because it's just been so bullish. And also, I mean, if you flip it to the 4 hour, then you've got the 50 bar moving average there as well. But you can also, if you look at it just quickly, I'll just zoom in on this chart. You can see this 50% level here, just around here. We've had some action around this level already. This 96.24 is just above the 96 handle. So it's another sort of thing to look at for if you're looking at fib levels. Keep an eye out if there is any sort of previous support or resistance at that level, because it's a sort of just something extra on that fib to probably give you a bit more confidence. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the Aussie dollar. What's been going on the Aussie? There's one thing that's definitely been going on. It's this fib here from lows to that high there, obvious fib. And if I'll add that 38.2 back on, I don't know why I keep on deleting it, to be honest with you. So 38.2, bam, right there. One spot 0350s, came back down. There was a bit of a double top there, and then it came back down to 30.2s, and we've just ripped high and we've taken out those highs. So the next sort of play that a lot of people will be looking at, in my opinion, will be from where we bounced off there of that 38.2s to that high, to the highs there. And if you just widen it, so you can see what will be happening at these fib levels. Of course, we have this resistance up here, which was the double top resistance coming in at around the sort of 38.2. So I'd be surprised if it came out to 38.2 and rotated higher. But also, once again, as we said on that dollar Swiss chart, so I'll just flip this to the 4 hour so you can see it a bit clearer. What we said on that dollar yen chart, if you look at the 50% here, has also had previous support to the pip, so that could be an interesting one to look out for. And also we have a 50 bar moving average on this 4 hour chart as well, so that'd be an interesting one. If we do start to get some sort of sell off today, what will happen at those levels? You can also see it a bit clear on the 1 hour chart as well. And also on the 1 hour chart we have the 100 hour moving average coming in at 38.2 and the 200 hour coming at the 50%. So that 38% and 50% zone could be a really interesting sort of buying zone there. Interesting to see what the action is when it comes down to there. Okay, that's the forex done. Let's have a look at gold, everyone's favourite commodity. It's been a bit of a disappointing chart really. I mean, it's just, yes, we are on a downtrend, so if you're already short, then yeah, it's great for you short sellers. But if you're looking for sort of shorter term opportunities within the week, then it hasn't been that great really. It's just been quite choppy really these last few weeks. The 50-day moving average has been holding it. I personally would like to see some sort of pop up towards this trend line, and then we also have that sort of 100-day moving average there. I mean, it's clearer to see if you just flip to the, if we flip to the weekly quickly. One thing that you can see where it's been holding at is if you draw a fib from the low of the year, so the low at the start of January, to the highs of the year, and you can see this 61.8 at 1541 has been the key support, which has been holding and holding and holding. We've had multiple bounces there. If I zoom in, you should be able to see it clearer. So multiple spikes at this level here, and it's just been holding really, really technically. So and you see last week's candle, we had a nice spike pretty much to the pip here, and some sort of reversal. But this week's candle, it isn't really popping up. Of course, last week's candle was a red body as well, so then you maybe should think that it should come down first before it then pops up. So it could be interesting today. It could come back down here to this level and then rotate in the afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But that's all I'm really focused on, to be honest with you, on gold. It's making lower highs here, but this key 1541 level is holding very nicely. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed watching. Hope you found it useful. If there's any other pairs that you want to have a look at next week, then feel free to comment under the YouTube video, which I'll post, or on the Twitter feed at AGM Markets. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of the week trading, and I'll catch you next week. Cheers.